In the vast wilderness of Alaska, where endless stretches of forest and tundra conceal secrets older than human history itself, a man named Nathan Campbell vanished under circumstances that continue to stir questions and speculation. On the 13th of June, 2020, Campbell was last seen alive near Kerry Lake, a remote and rarely visited body of water within Denali National Park. At 41 years old, Campbell was an experienced outdoorsman, husband and father, who carried with him a bold and unusual mission. According to his bush pilot, Jason Sturgis, Campbell was not merely heading into the wilderness for solitude or survival, but because he was searching for the fabled Lost Pyramid of Alaska, a structure many believe is buried deep beneath the earth and deliberately hidden from public knowledge. The journey began a few weeks earlier, on the 27th of May, 2020, when Campbell chartered a small float plane in Talkeetna. He packed carefully for what he described as a 4-month adventure: durable camping gear, large plastic containers filled with food, fishing equipment, and a satellite communicator to stay in touch with his wife and children. When Sturgis flew him over the Alaska Range toward Carey Lake, Campbell opened up about his true motivation. He said he wanted to locate the Black Pyramid, a mysterious formation that had been whispered about for decades. Sturgis described Campbell as quiet but determined, referring to the quest as his own Indiana Jones adventure. Kerry Lake was a fitting place to begin such a search. Isolated, difficult to reach, and surrounded by harsh, almost impenetrable terrain, it was a place where few would venture, let alone settle for months. The lake itself lies in a region of interior Alaska where there are no roads, no marked trails, and no permanent human presence. The nearest settlement, Lake Minchumina, has a population of only 13 people and is a week's walk away across swampy ground and thickets of alder. Campbell wanted solitude, but more than that, he wanted discovery. The inspiration for Campbell's quest stretches back to the early 1990s, when seismic research was conducted in Alaska. Scientists detonated charges underground in order to map the Earth's crust, but their instruments detected something unusual. The data revealed the outline of a massive geometric structure beneath the surface. Some said it resembled a pyramid, perhaps twice the size of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Reports circulated briefly on Channel 13 in Anchorage, but the coverage mysteriously vanished after its initial broadcast. Among those who later corroborated the story was Douglas A. Muchler, a retired U.S. Army officer. Muchler claimed he had personally seen the news segment before it was removed, and that when he later asked about it, he was discouraged from pursuing the matter further. The disappearance of the broadcast and the secrecy surrounding the anomaly gave rise to theories that the pyramid was not only real, but deliberately hidden from public view. Over time, researchers added layers to the story, suggesting that the structure might not just be a relic of an ancient civilization, but some kind of device, possibly capable of influencing human consciousness. For Campbell, such a discovery would have been worth any risk. He knew the dangers of Alaska's wilderness, but seemed convinced that finding the pyramid would justify the hardships. He told Sturgis that this was more than a camping trip. It was a mission. Sturgis later recalled that Campbell was well prepared and methodical, not reckless or naive. He had enough food to last months and the means to communicate with his family through the InReach device. But within weeks of his arrival, contact ceased. Campbell's wife grew worried by mid-June when she no longer received messages. She contacted Sturgis, who checked Campbell's last recorded GPS location. It showed him about 5 miles away from Kerry Lake, deep into the wilderness. Unfortunately, the float plane could not land there. Sturgis suggested she hire a helicopter, assuming a search would be carried out immediately. But months passed before the authorities became involved. By September, when the National Park Service finally began searching, Campbell had been missing for nearly 3 months. Search teams discovered supplies left at Kerry Lake, including food containers and fishing gear. A collapsed tent was later found miles away, with a damaged diary inside. Animals had chewed on it, but several entries remained legible. Most described routine camp activities, but the final entry was chilling in its simplicity. Campbell had left the tent to get water. After that, nothing. No further notes, no sign of struggle, and no trace of Campbell himself. The Alaskan state troopers officially added him to the missing persons list, but little more was offered by way of explanation. The case echoes earlier disappearances in Alaska's unforgiving wilderness. Not far from Kerry Lake, decades earlier, a young man named Chris McCandless had ventured into the wild and never returned. His story was immortalized in the book and film Into the Wild. But Campbell's disappearance differs in one critical way. His journey was not just about isolation or self-discovery. It was tied to the legend of the Black Pyramid, a story steeped in secrecy, government cover-ups, and speculation about ancient civilizations or advanced technology. The pyramid legend itself has grown over the years into something approaching modern mythology. Some researchers insist it is buried near Mount McKinley, now Denali. Others claim it lies closer to Valdez. Witnesses in surrounding areas have reported strange lights in the sky, unexplained military activity, and unusual behavior from wildlife. There are whispers of aircraft being diverted from flying too close to the area, as well as persistent rumors of government suppression. For Campbell, these stories may have represented a challenge, a mystery demanding resolution. He likely saw himself not as chasing a fantasy, but as uncovering something deliberately hidden. His disappearance, therefore, raises profound questions. Did he simply succumb to the dangers of Alaska's interior, the cold nights, unpredictable weather, or the hazards of traversing wetlands and thick brush? Or did his quest bring him closer to the very thing he sought, with consequences beyond what he expected? Some have suggested that Campbell might have stumbled upon evidence of the pyramid and that his disappearance was not merely accidental. The fact that his wife stopped receiving messages so suddenly, without any explanation, is considered unusual. Others note the delay in official search efforts, wondering why months were allowed to pass before a full investigation began. In research circles, these details are cited as signs of a deeper truth, that Campbell's fate is tied to the secrecy surrounding the Black Pyramid. As the years have passed since Nathan Campbell's disappearance, the story has shifted from being treated as an isolated tragedy to being examined as part of a broader pattern of suppression and secrecy. Researchers who have long investigated the Black Pyramid claim that Campbell's vanishing is not simply the unfortunate result of Alaska's harsh environment, but that it fits within a web of evidence pointing to deliberate concealment. The silence and inconsistencies in the official narrative are central to these suspicions. For one, Campbell's wife reported that his satellite communications stopped suddenly in mid-June, even though the device was designed to function for months under normal conditions. The delay in launching a search has also raised questions. Campbell stopped communicating in mid-June, yet the National Park Service did not begin looking for him until September. In a state known for its unforgiving wilderness, time is always critical. Critics argue that such a delay is inexplicable unless there was a desire to avoid drawing attention to the region where Campbell had been exploring. For those who believe in the Black Pyramid's existence, this delay is not an accident, but a deliberate act of neglect intended to prevent anyone from retracing Campbell's steps too soon. Supporters of this theory point to earlier reports about how information on the pyramid was suppressed in the 1990s. Douglas Muchler's testimony about the broadcast that aired once and then vanished is often cited as proof that official channels are capable of erasing evidence. If a local news station's footage could disappear overnight, critics argue, then removing or obscuring evidence of Campbell's fate would be a small extension of that same practice. Some researchers even suggest that the Black Pyramid is part of a long-running classified project studied by select government and military agencies. They argue that if Campbell was getting too close to the structure, his presence may have triggered an intervention. His disappearance would then be less about the wilderness claiming another life and more about keeping a secret buried. The diary, the broken tent, and the scattered supplies could be interpreted not as signs of an accident, but as staged evidence left to suggest one. Even if one dismisses the more speculative theories, the disappearance highlights the dangers of obsession. Alaska is littered with the stories of those who entered its vast expanses and never returned. Yet Campbell's story stands apart because his purpose was tied not to escape or solitude, but to discovery. His diary, though sparse, confirms he was functioning as expected, keeping track of daily tasks until the very end. The simple act of going to fetch water, a routine survival chore, became his last recorded decision. As time passes, the legend of Nathan Campbell and the Lost Pyramid intertwines more tightly. His disappearance is now part of the mystery itself, reinforcing the idea that something extraordinary lies hidden beneath Alaska's soil. Just as McCandless became a symbol of youthful rebellion and the quest for meaning, Campbell may become remembered as the man who sought the hidden architecture of the past and never returned. The implications of the pyramid, if real, are staggering. If it is truly a structure larger than Giza, buried in Alaska, it would rewrite human history. Theories abound that it was constructed by an ancient civilization with advanced knowledge, that it is a remnant of extraterrestrial visitation, or that it is a dormant machine with unknown power. Claims that it can influence human consciousness suggest a technology beyond comprehension, capable of altering the way humans think and perceive reality itself. If Campbell was even close to finding such a site, his disappearance might not be explained by natural causes alone. The wilderness of Alaska is vast enough to swallow secrets. Mountains and glaciers guard their mysteries, and even the most determined searchers can come up empty-handed. Campbell entered this wilderness willingly, armed with knowledge, supplies, and determination. But the truth of what he found, or failed to find, may never be known. What remains is the haunting story of a man who went in search of a hidden pyramid and vanished without a trace, leaving behind only a diary, a collapsed tent, and unanswered questions. For his family, the pain of uncertainty is profound. For researchers and enthusiasts of the Black Pyramid, his disappearance adds weight to the belief that something extraordinary lies beneath Alaska's frozen ground. And for the rest of the world, Nathan Campbell's story serves as a reminder of how thin the line can be between myth and reality, between exploration and disappearance. A few months ago, it was reported that sheep across the world were observed walking around in circles, and people have now said that the phenomenon has just started up again. Due to this strange behavior, it's caused some to suggest that animals may be sensing something. Interestingly, some animals have been observed to have the ability to detect earthquakes before they occur. This is believed to be due to their heightened sensitivity to changes in their environment, such as vibrations or electromagnetic fields. One animal that is known for its ability to detect earthquakes is the common toad. Researchers have found that toads will often leave their breeding sites and move to higher ground several days before an earthquake occurs. Similarly, other studies have shown that certain species of fish, snakes, and even domesticated dogs and cats have exhibited unusual behavior prior to an earthquake. Scientists have said that not all animals have this ability, and more research is needed to fully understand the mechanisms behind this phenomenon. The United States Geological Survey said the following about this phenomenon. Evidence abounds of animals, fish, birds, reptiles, and insects exhibiting strange behavior anywhere from weeks to seconds before an earthquake. However, consistent and reliable behavior prior to seismic events and a mechanism explaining how it could work still eludes us. End quote. One person commented on social media saying that they have a koi pond, and she observed her fish swimming around in circles for hours. This event happened in early March, and she said that a few days later, the region where she lives was hit by a 4-magnitude earthquake. China is located in an area of the world that is particularly prone to earthquakes due to its location on the Pacific Ring of Fire. The Pacific Ring of Fire is a region that encircles the Pacific Ocean and is characterized by high levels of seismic activity and volcanic eruptions. China is also situated on the boundary between the Eurasian Plate and the Indian Plate, which are two of the Earth's tectonic plates. The collision of these two plates has created a complex system of fault lines that runs through China, resulting in frequent earthquakes. While earthquakes are common in China, the country has implemented measures to mitigate their impact. This includes seismic monitoring systems, earthquake-resistant building codes, and public education campaigns on earthquake preparedness. Oddly enough, this strange behavior was observed a few months back, when sheep were seen walking around in circles. It was reported that hundreds of sheep had been observed walking in circles for over 12 days. Not long after the first report was made, others came forward and said that sheep were observed doing the same thing across different countries, with reports coming in from the United Kingdom and Mongolia, with local farmers confused as to why the sheep were doing this for such a long period of time, with one farmer saying that it happens every so often, but has never lasted more than an hour. The cause of this strange behavior is still not known. It's known that China is often hit by earthquakes, and at the time it caused some to suggest that perhaps the sheep could feel something happening. The United States Geological Survey said the following. The earliest reference we have to unusual animal behavior prior to a significant earthquake is from Greece in 373 BC. Rats, weasels, snakes, and centipedes reportedly left their homes and headed for safety several days before a destructive earthquake. Anecdotal evidence abounds of animals, fish, birds, reptiles, and insects exhibiting strange behavior anywhere from weeks to seconds before an earthquake. Most but not all scientists pursuing this mystery are in China or Japan. An earthquake forecast was made in China several decades ago, based on small earthquakes and unusual animal activity. Many people chose to sleep outside of their homes and thus were spared when the main earthquake indeed occurred and caused widespread destruction. However, usually no large earthquake follows this type of seismic activity, and unfortunately, many earthquakes are preceded by no precursory events whatsoever. End quote. It's for this reason that people worry when they see animals acting like this, with residents fearing that a big earthquake could hit the region within the next few days. As mentioned, for centuries there have been accounts of animals acting strange before an earthquake devastates a region. A few years back, scientists came forward and said that they have filmed the behavior of wild animals prior to a quake, and believe this could be documented evidence of animals behaving differently just prior to an earthquake. The researchers were studying birds in Peru and found that days before an earthquake hit, the birds ran for shelter, with the team suggesting that the animals running for cover may be linked to airborne ions. As of right now, scientists and animal experts have said that there's several reasons why animals may walk in circles, saying that some animals, particularly those with poor eyesight, may use circling as a means of navigating. By walking in circles, they may be able to detect changes in their environment, such as the location of food or water sources, and orient themselves more accurately. Certain animals, especially those in captivity or under stress, may exhibit repetitive behaviors, including circling. This behavior may be a result of boredom, anxiety, or a lack of stimulation. In some cases, animals may walk in circles due to neurological disorders, such as vestibular disease. This condition affects the inner ear, which can cause disorientation and loss of balance. Injury. Animals may also walk in circles if they have sustained an injury to their limbs or other parts of their body. This behavior may be an attempt to alleviate pain or discomfort. It's important to note that circling behavior in animals should be investigated and monitored by a veterinarian, as it can sometimes be a symptom of a more serious underlying condition. Mysterious creatures photographed in Brazil. A Brazilian man captured some odd images of what appear to be mysterious creatures on his camera. The Bahian government imposed a curfew on the area in the middle of 2021, prohibiting people from leaving their homes at night. However, this seemed to only apply to humans, since locals started reporting seeing weird animals out and about throughout the night. They described them as smaller than people, coated in black hair, and possessing a dog-like face. People began to sneak out in the hopes of seeing these monsters as a result of these rumors, and one local was successful in doing just that. Following their capture, the photos were circulated on social media. Some locals weren't so confident, and didn't want to venture outside at night for fear of seeing these animals. Reverse image searches yield no results, suggesting that the photos are authentic. Locals have also attested to the veracity of what they observe in the area, and soon after, people began to form links with both these animals and the mysterious nightcrawlers, which are claimed to be two-legged beings. According to old American myths, these animals have been on Earth for a long time, and they are said to have originated on a planet that was mostly made of swamps, which explains why they have such long legs. Those who have studied these creatures have said that they are able to walk across the swampy marshlands that are found all over the country. However, some have claimed that they only rarely land and spend the majority of their time in and around our waters. They have also noted that they are comparable to other mysterious species that have been spotted close to our oceans, and they claim that this is one of the primary reasons why we don't see them very often. The creatures have been spotted in the California region over the years. The nightcrawler has been characterized as an ethereal, strange-looking creature that has frequently been the subject of a great deal of skepticism. This is because the only proof of an encounter with the creature comes from uncut security footage that shows the strange entity walking through residential backyards and covering large distances. The nightcrawler is also said to be a creature that is simple to manufacture, since it resembles a big white cloth wrapped over a long-legged human moving slowly on film. As a result, several video analysts have examined the tape to see whether or not it has been altered in any manner. Not only did they discover that the footage was authentic, but they also discovered that they could reconstruct the creature's whole course, traversing numerous locations throughout the city until completely vanishing, by utilizing the angle and direction of the cameras. The nightcrawlers have been seen in the film at heights comparable to those of children, men, and even cats. Despite their varied sizes, they are always seen walking on two long white legs with no arms of any type. This has led some people to conclude that the creature is nothing more than the application of practical effects. In addition, the creature's movements are correlated with the billowing movements of the wind, and the footage is uncut with lights and shadows, indicating that the thing exists in 3 dimensions. Many people have come to believe that the bizarre nightcrawlers are real, thanks to years of unending footage of them. Occasionally, someone will report seeing the elusive creature, but it has been difficult to get footage of it because they are not expecting to. Utah skinwalker sighting. In 2018, the terrifying image was posted to Reddit under the title Utah Skinwalker Sighting. According to the poster, their friend's ex-husband took the picture, and they said that the father of the ex-husband and him were on a rural property to examine the scene of an alleged incident that had occurred a few weeks prior. They claim that a man brandishing a shotgun approached them and shook his head, telling them not to be by themselves on this section of the land. He gave them a warning shot and motioned for them to go away. Along a dusty driveway, the father and the ex-husband fled as quickly as they could. They illuminated their path with the camera's flash, and as they were doing this, a number of photographs were captured. After telling their friends and relatives about the strange experience for a few weeks, they finally made the decision to see if the camera had captured any images of them running. One of the pictures captured a really unsettling moment. A humanoid figure is visible in the center of the road. Its torso is extremely thick, and it is heavy and brown, and it appears to be plodding across the road with a slight slouch. The individual who posted the photograph thinks it might be proof of the notorious skinwalker, and if this image turns out to be genuine, it will be one of the few in existence that shows the creature. The mythology and folklore of many Native American tribes, especially the Navajo people of the Southwest, have a strong influence on skinwalkers. It is thought that these mysterious entities have the capacity to change into animals at will, usually with malicious intent. The history of skinwalkers is veiled in legend and custom, intricately linked to the Navajo people's spiritual convictions. A skinwalker, according to Navajo folklore, is a person who has attained supernatural abilities through witchcraft and dark magic, frequently by carrying out forbidden deeds. The ability to shapeshift into an animal and take on its physical attributes is supposed to be granted to the skinwalker by donning the skin or hide of that animal. In Navajo culture, the capacity to change into an animal is typically connected to shaman, or healers and medicine men or women who utilize their abilities for the good of their community. The idea of the skinwalker, on the other hand, is a distortion of this spiritual discipline in which people use their abilities for nefarious or self-serving ends, and it's reported that skinwalkers are capable of more than only shapeshifting. When in animal shape, they are claimed to possess increased strength, speed, and agility, making them extremely dangerous opponents. They might display strange traits in human form, like mind control, telepathy, and the capacity to influence the elements. The ability of skinwalkers to mimic human voices and noises is one of the most terrifying characteristics of skinwalker lore. They frequently use this talent to entice victims or instill dread and bewilderment. They are thought to feed on people's inadequacies and vulnerabilities, instilling terror in those they come into contact with. Mysterious object taken down over Brazil. Thousands of individuals in Brazil reported seeing strange lights back in 2020. Videos of these strange lights are beginning to circulate online as more and more individuals record them. Some residents reported seeing lights pulse and dart across the sky, while others described seeing objects resembling orbs that would hover in one spot before suddenly vanishing. There is no doubt that a large number of residents have succeeded in photographing these unusual lights. North of Rio de Janeiro is where the lights have been most seen. Locals have been bringing in their videos, and thus at the time, the Brazilian press began covering the objects. These activities have been taking place in Mage, and the region has even started to trend on social media. However, some claimed that the trend was only taken down after around an hour, and this caused some to suggest that the trend was removed from social media on purpose in order to stop more people asking questions. Remarkably, the situation changed when locals reported that one of the objects encountered difficulties and crashed. There have been reports that the item struck the earth a few days after the original sighting, at which point other lights were reported to be visible. One of the residents, intrigued by what had transpired, made the adventurous decision to search for the fallen craft. They quickly arrived at the location, where they could plainly see a metallic, spherical-looking object. It looked as though it was glowing blue from the inside and was releasing some kind of steam. The video is cut after only about 15 seconds. Some have questioned the object's legitimacy, despite its intriguing and futuristic appearance. As of right now, many have claimed that the alleged object was created by someone to give the impression that the entire event was staged. However, as someone pointed out, how did this thing manage to materialize so quickly? It was also noted that there was extremely high background radiation in the vicinity of the object's discovery, which at the time was unexplainable. Some claimed that this characteristic was shared by UFOs that had landed, and some viewers of the video have said that it's well shot and that the item appears to be much larger thanks to camera techniques. It appears that unusual visitors have occurred in Brazil on occasion. Researchers have spent countless hours trying to determine the truth behind the numerous unidentified flying objects that have been reported from this area throughout the years. While some have called the object a hoax, others have also made the point that you shouldn't let it take your attention away from the real lights that have been photographed. Photographs of the mysterious duende. The duende, a small gnome-like creature steeped in Hispanic folklore, captivates the imagination with its strange presence and whimsical nature. The concept of the duende finds its roots in folklore, where it is believed to have emerged from ancient beliefs and superstitions passed down through generations. Unlike malevolent creatures of other traditions, the creature is often portrayed as mischievous, yet not inherently harmful, known for playing pranks on unsuspecting travelers or local villagers. Stories of encounters with the creature often emphasize its elusive nature and magical abilities, such as shape-shifting or invisibility, adding to its mystical allure. They were held accountable for numerous odd occurrences that occurred in and around homes, and some have concluded that these creatures are tricking you as a result of this. They appear to be rather innocuous in the majority of stories. Some even advise you to give them your first bite of any meal in order to stay on your good side. According to reports from other residents, you can call out to these creatures, and they will come to your aid if you become lost in the woods. This seems to hold true as long as you didn't hurt anyone. The Watchers of the Woods warn the villagers when they go outside to play in the area. The creature was always keeping an eye on them, so they were warned not to get into too much trouble in the woods and not to hurt any animals for fun, and if they saw you misbehaving, they would come to you and drag you into their cave, which is located far into the forest. Strangely enough, photos purporting to depict these mysterious creatures have surfaced in recent years. The photographers claim that these images are challenging to obtain because the majority of the sightings occurred at night, making it impossible for the cameras to catch the images. Nonetheless, the images do seem to depict little, humanoid-like creatures, which is consistent with the creature's general description. Dogman caught on camera at zoo. A user on social media uploaded this strange image to Reddit, where it has already sparked some thought-provoking discussions over what this object might be. Trail cameras have long been used to record unusual critters, and in more recent times, they have allowed us to get insight into some of the animals that inhabit these far-off places. But since this picture was taken right outside of a zoo, several people were left wondering if the creature was maybe stalking the animals there. The uploader claims that a game camera outside of the Texas Zoo took the mysterious picture. When it was first uploaded, it was posted in a private zookeeper Facebook group. The keeper said that they were unable to identify the object after seeing it on a trail camera aimed at a perimeter fence. Those who saw the image said that the camera was aimed at the outer barrier from inside the zoo. Because most of the photos are of wild animals, as you would expect from a trail camera, some speculated that the private zookeeper wasn't seeking attention. Others responded by saying that this lends greater authenticity to the images. After the post was distributed to organizations that study unexplained phenomena, a user commented that it fit the Dogman's descriptions. This photograph closely resembles eyewitness descriptions of the Dogman creature. Stories about the Dogman have been around for a while, however. There are now very few photos available, most of them featuring hazy animals. This one is still a little fuzzy from the trail camera, but you can clearly see that it's a bipedal animal that resembles a wolf. Despite the Dogman tale, if you were to look at this picture and not know about it, you may think that it's a werewolf or a wolf standing on its hind legs. It's interesting to note that people of Texas claim that these supposed animals fit the general description of the Dogman, a creature that is said to resemble a werewolf and measure between 6 and 7 feet in height. Another account of their contact with the Dogman is based on a personal narrative that was published in recent years and revolves around their meeting that took place in the Texas county of El Paso over 50 years ago. In 1968, an 11-year-old boy and his friends went to a local baseball field in El Paso during the summer to play baseball. The field was about 5 blocks away from Richmond Avenue. Someone hit the baseball at an oblique angle as they were playing, and it flew into the trees next to the baseball pitch as the day was becoming late. It was long past dark by now, with the sun completely set. They were afraid to leave the baseball pitch in case someone was waiting outside to act strangely. The lads approached the fence and turned to face the baseball, but as they did, they noticed an odd man standing outside the fence, facing away from the boys. He refused to turn around, ignoring the youngsters as they cried out to him, asking for help finding the ball. Fearing for their safety, one of the lads picked up a nearby boulder and hurled it in the man's direction, hoping to scare him off or make him turn around. The rock slipped silently to one side, and then the man sank to all fours and appeared to change into a big wolf. The boys claimed that the creature was a werewolf and fled from the thing as a result. They sprinted all the way home without stopping, shut the door, and spent the night at a friend's house rather than making the long trek home. The bedside watcher. These video stills from a hospital surveillance camera appear to show a misty human shape, resembling a child, keeping watch over a patient. However, paranormal researchers have said that there are 3 different interpretations of the person in the bed and their purpose in the hospital. Either an individual suffering from a terminal illness, an elderly man close to passing, or a sleep experiment. Some who have seen the image have said that it's consoling to know that someone is with them during their last moments. These 3 still images are from an infrared surveillance and monitoring camera that was installed in a hospital. A mysterious humanoid figure may be seen standing next to a hospital bed in 2 out of the 3 photos. The figure is almost perched on the railings in one of these video stills, gazing down at the patient. It appears as though the other is making touch with the subject's forehead. The first story tells us it was a part of a sleep analysis experiment, but does not provide a location for the hospital or medical center. The man in the bed had been having nightmares about someone trying to enter his bedroom via the walls in order to get to him when he was awake. His fear over going to bed was causing him to be so terrified that his waking life was negatively impacted. The cameras captured the photos while they were being conducted on him to monitor and investigate what was going on in his brain during these waking nightmares. The second story is that an elderly individual who was about to pass away was lying in bed. The picture was taken right before the person passed away, and many suggested that it might have been their own spirit giving their body one final glance before leaving it behind, or that it might have been one of their close relatives helping them cross over to the other side. The third story is that it's a young individual with an illness, and many people think that this picture, which was taken a long time before he passed away, might be that of a guardian angel or a kind spirit that would watch over those who were about to pass on. It's possible that it was something else entirely. Some people even speculate that the entity may be demonic.